nice. Thank you so much. Well, when I was asked to speak, I thought, I can't speak about diversity and inclusion here because I am preaching to the converted. So I thought I would speak about two words, temet nose. Now, why would that Latin phrase be familiar to a Jamaican teenager? It was not Labor Omnia Vincit, which was her school motto. Labor conquers all. But temet nose means know yourself. Mm-hmm. And I was that Jamaican teenager. And that was what my mother told me every time I would come home from school and complain that they didn't like me. She would say, know yourself, because my mother understood that the single most important thing I could ever do, and we could ever do in life, is to know ourselves. Because knowing ourselves puts us in a position of power in life and in business. It frees us of life's bullies, and in particular, the bully of other people's opinions. Yes? So, not only know yourself, but then you need to embrace yourself. Understand who you really are, your uniqueness. And I had to understand what was quintessentially me, warts and all, embrace that as my U-print that I would imprint upon the world. So what is a U-print? And why does that matter? Well, in order for me to explain the inextricable link between self-awareness, self-acceptance, and the art of clever U-printing, I'd like to tell you a little bit about my story. So I was fourth of 5 children in a very prominent, high-achieving family. So for me, performance was the currency of the day. Some of us know we are a lot of Black African families here. You're born, you do well. Yeah, there's no question about it. Yes? And I discovered really early, and it was when we used to have the weekly maths and spelling competitions at your age 4. Yes, we had them. But I discovered that when I won the coveted tin of peanuts, I did not, that was not all I won. I won something that really enticed me, and that was center stage. For one brief moment, I was not the little pest. Yes. And that began my journey into thinking that what I did was who I was. So by the time I got to high school, I was virtually, honestly, I was annoying. Because I was all about being teacher's pet, top of the class, accolades. That was all I was about. Because the time I had knobbly knees. They used to call me horse knees because I had because I had disproportionately long legs, skinny legs. They had these big eyes, which I've grown into now, but they used to call me frog eyes. But they couldn't beat me in class. So that became what I decided to be. But that didn't work, and all my mother would say to me is, know yourself. And I used to say to her, come on now, mommy, hello. Is that all they gave you in Modern 101? They didn't teach you about the troubled teen phase, because I am in trouble right now and I need to know you, and all you have for me is know yourself. And she didn't tell my sister. That's another story for another day. But what happened is that I continued on this journey of not knowing myself. So by the time I got to university, I didn't know who I was. And so I fell prey, got pregnant, and dropped out of university in my first year. You can imagine what that did to a little girl who based everything about who she was on what she did. So I had to learn really fast. And you know, in life, in the same way when you base things on shifting sands and they shift, the thing that comes to harm you, more often than not, serves to shape you and to show you who you are. So I had to learn fast. And I thank my father who said to me one day, he said, come on now, you're not the first girl and you won't be the last. Pick yourself up. And I picked myself up and I fought my way back up. And I qualified to go into law and I became a successful lawyer. But on that journey, I understood myself. I understood first that I'm actually a good girl. It doesn't matter what happened. I'm a good girl. Yes. I'm not what people think I am. Yes. I also understood the importance of not judging others. I understood the importance of caring about something outside of yourself. And I understood the importance of not giving up. And those things, coupled with my usual, normal personalities and idiosyncrasies, some of you might say, formulated my blueprint. And it has kept me throughout. So when I was in Jamaica, there was a family that my mother called and said they were in trouble. They booked a holiday and it fell through. And I invited them into my home, family of 5 from the United Kingdom. I invited them into my home and I treated them royally. Fast forward the year 2000, I moved to the United Kingdom. And I had plans which fell through. And I was facing homelessness and joblessness as a prominent lawyer moving to the country here, with plans falling through. Any guesses who hosted me? Yes? Yes. So when we learn sometimes, and we understand the importance of giving, and we understand the importance of being bigger, that other things outside are bigger than ourselves, it actually provides a way for us. Yes? And I remember also, I looked around, another one of my blueprints, I looked around and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to be sorry for myself. I'm not going back to Jamaica with my tail between my legs, and I'm not going on the dole. So they can tell me I'm overqualified until the cows come home. I'm not giving up, because that was what I was being told. And I looked around and I saw refugees and asylum seekers poorly circumnavigating the social welfare system. I decided to help them. I set up a charity with the help of my local church at a city center set of offices. I asked them for one. That charity I set up landed me in 2003 my most prestigious speaking engagement to date at the United Nations. Fully paid for by Bradford Council, not just for me, but also for somebody to go with me and my daughter to take care of her while I gave my speech in Geneva, Switzerland. Yes? Fast forward, I moved down from Bradford to Wales. And in 2012, I remember as the head of property and law solicitors with my last legal job, and then I launched out into helping businesses. And the morning my mother passed away, anybody remember Capital Cardiff? The big city hall event that they had? Yeah. Well, you know, Horse Knees had 3 seminars in there, so not bad for Horse Knees. Yes, I had 3 seminars, and I got the call. That's another blueprint that came to fore, because I do not let people down. And I went and I did the 3 seminars. But you know what else showed up at that time? My mother's blueprint showed up. And that showed up when the family went to the funeral home to book her funeral. And the person who owned the funeral home looked at the picture and I said, is that your mother? He said, that woman saved my life. He said, when I was in high school, I was off the rails, and she took me aside and she said, listen, you are better than that. And here I am today. He gave us the full best package at cut price, and he put a tribute in the program about all of what she'd done. It showed up in the delegation of school children who came to her funeral in their uniforms, because my mother taught from primary school through to high school until she was a professor at the University of the West Indies. And you couldn't believe it. It showed up in the care she was given when she was flown into the university hospital when she was to die. And the doctors there greeted her as if she was a returning Queen Mother, because every one of them had to do in their first year use of English. It was a compulsory course, and my mother took it. And she was she was treated like a royal. She died like a queen. And then it showed up in the country preacher because she had planned her funeral, that she asked to speak at her funeral. And he stood up and he said, I'm looking at all you dignitaries, and when I think that Dr. Thompson asked me to speak, I'm like, whoa, is she crazy? But he said, Dr. Thompson never ever made who she was something that affected how she thought about others or how she esteemed herself. And he said, if Dr. Thompson thinks that I'm worthy to stand here before all of you dignitaries, I am, and I'm going to do her proud. And so he did. And if I didn't get the message, her U-print showed up when I said to my daughter, if I could be half the woman that my mother was. Because all people tell me about my mother is how she made them feel after an encounter with her. And she turned to me and looked me straight in the eye and she said, Mommy, but that's how I feel about you. Oh. So, when you know yourself and you embrace your U-print, it is self-replicating. We have a responsibility to be intentional about it. We need to know who we are. We need to understand the purpose for who we are, because the world needs it. Thank you. Oh.